Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julia Janae here along with Judge Ashley Wilcott. Thank you for being with us as we are following this breaking news and new developments out in Providence, Rhode Island. The Brown University shooting investigation continues.
Yeah, it's crazy when 2 students shot and killed 9 others were wounded when a gunman entered their classroom and opened fire last Saturday. A suspect is still not in custody after a manhunt. Now, I will say the manhunt is on its 5th day, but we did hear earlier, Julia, that another of the victims was released from the hospital, so some good news.
That is good to hear. Another thing that came out today is that their investigation yielded some new pictures. This one here, another take of another individual that they want to talk to. They say this person was in proximity to the person of interest, and they're still trying to find them. So here's the video that we've been showing you throughout the week of that person of interest that was released on Monday.
And this is enhanced video of that same person that was released yesterday. A lot that we're seeing. I just have to comment quickly, Julia, that these 2 individuals are dressed similarly. Dark clothes, something covering their head. Interesting.
Yeah. The only difference is we can see the face of the person. Point. And, you know, I use the term see lightly because it's very hard to really make out features, but this is what has been put out. That news conference that they are doing daily at this point is underway there in Providence. Let's pick it up where we left off.
Doing tower dumps of cell phone data, and I'm not sure if this is also happening, but if you're also checking the MAC addresses of any phones related to any of the Wi-Fi at residences or at Brown University as well. If so, how long does it take to get that information? Have you even received any preliminary information that is helping you narrow down any potential persons of interest?
I will say that I don't want to get into the specifics of the techniques that we use investigatively, but I will say that we are using every resource that we have to find this subject and bring him to justice.
But when it comes to cell phone data, how long does it take to get that information? Would we be getting weeks, months?
I will say that it varies as it relates to getting that type of data. I will say that everything that we're doing is getting expedited based on the gravity of what has happened here at Brown University. Right next to you.
Have you recovered any physical evidence during these recent searches, and possibly including a gun magazine?
So we have done extensive searches both inside the location as well as outside. Yes, we have seized and found physical evidence.
And does that include a gun magazine?
We have found physical evidence.
Can you say where?
I'm not going to confirm. I'm sorry? Yeah. Please.
Colonel, you know, for the past couple of days, we have zeroed in on this particular person of interest. Can you kind of help remind us about why you believe this is someone who possibly could be either the shooter or a suspect? You've been very careful not to say a suspect. You've said a person of interest, but this is the only video. Can you help remind us about why you believe this is the person, not looking for others?
We have enough evidence, I think, that's taken us to that level to identify this individual as someone who was there immediately after, before, case in the area. There's enough for us to believe that's definitely a subject of interest based on descriptions, based on statements, and so that's the reason we're calling him a subject of interest, just to ensure that we have enough, and once we identify him, to be able to take the next step.
And a quick follow. You were very clear not to use gender with the person in proximity to the person of interest, but you have been using male pronouns describing this person as a man. For this particular person of interest, we can say for sure you believe that we are looking for a man for the person of interest?
Correct.
In the back there.
At this point, and this is for the FBI, at this point, this person could be anywhere, right? I-95 runs right through the state. So how are you coordinating with other states to determine whether this person of interest could be elsewhere?
No, that's a great question. Through all of our field offices, we have 56 field offices throughout the United States, as well as legats abroad. And so the information that we have, once it goes into our data systems, we are sharing that information real time with all of our FBI field offices and the partners as well. And so that is a way in which we're making sure that whether that subject has left the state or even left the country, that we are using that full reach of the federal arm to track that individual down.
And a follow-up real quick for one of you. I understand that Brown has 1,200 cameras. Why, and that those images have been handed over to the investigation, why have we not seen any of this footage? Wouldn't it help if the media or if the general public saw people walking through campus and just to get angles?
Yeah, I mean, my answer to that is footage of students running from the scene doesn't help advance identifying this person or this investigation.
Walking in? Him walking into the building?
No, not him. I'm talking about video footage of students that were not harmed, other students hearing shots, running through a different part of the building. We have video footage of that. That doesn't help us identify this individual.
With respect to Attorney General, I think we could all agree that maybe, within the 24 hours ahead of that time, there is a lot of footage that could be gone through or controlled. Those 1,200 cameras that you say there are in the school, why hasn't that just been released to the public?
Well, let me play devil's advocate. Would you like all of it?
Why not?
Well, because here's why. Because it doesn't tell us anything about who committed this crime yet. If we get a better image of who committed this crime, you'll have it. There is no effort to preclude the public, online investigators in the press, from getting to the result faster than we can. If you can identify this person faster than we can, have at it. But we are giving you the best evidence we can to identify this person. The FBI, with respect, cannot find a person we have not identified yet. The way we identify him is to focus on this person, exhaust our investigative resources to pull videotape so that we can get an image out there that the public may be able to identify. At the same time, exploiting other evidence to try to track this person in different ways, which has been going on for the last 72 hours. So, well, what does that look like? What that looks like is information comes in. It could come in from the tip line. The team runs it to ground. They rely on other evidence, the flock cameras that the colonel referenced, other electronic data that Amanda's referring to, and you can rule that person in or out. When that person is ruled out, you move on to the next one. The way the public helps us now is to help us identify this person, okay? But that's not the exclusive way we're going at it. But it does not advance our investigation to have reams of data out there that don't help identify the shooter. And we're confident of that.
My follow-up question just to that was as well is, we speak a lot about the public helping as well, and we know that the FBI is involved. But 5 days, a person can get very far in 5 days. What other state police departments are holding you for this, and you have any indication how far this person may have gotten in this time?
Well, go ahead, Carl.
Yeah, no, I got it. So pretty much it's a great point, and that's something that we're considering. Obviously, he could be anywhere. You're right. And I think the fact that we're all here in this room and we're providing the info and it's being spread out through this nation, I would hope, I'm speaking to different chiefs. I've had the privilege to know a lot of them. We're exchanging info as we speak. We don't know. But we still don't know what the person is or who he is, right? And so we're going to continue to view, review, and then send out. And I just want to touch on that question because you do make a good point. If there's 1,200 cameras, right, how come we're not seeing it at all? But at the end of the day, we're looking at key evidence, key video evidence to send out. It makes no sense to re-victimize students who went through that. That's not my job, and that my responsibility is to ensure that people are safe. It's no different than I'm asking the public to provide me with video footage for weeks. I don't want to know what's going on in their homes for weeks. I want to know if they can see a piece of evidence that is going to be helpful for us to progress in this investigation.
What do you know about the level of public access to Darris and Holly? Is this a door that somebody from the prison or the shooter would have been able to walk in? Or is this a place where you would have needed swipe access to get in?
Certainly. Thanks for that question. Brown is no different than most colleges and universities that during daytime hours, there's open access to academic spaces. So that was the case on the day of the event.
Phil.
Question for Brown. There are some buildings on campus that have what may be private or non-police security guards posted at the front entrance. Was there a security guard ever posted at the engineering building entrance? If so, were they there that day? And what did they do? And if not, why not?
So maybe I'll ask our chief of police to speak to that.
On that day, we did not have and do not have a security asset posted inside the building.
Is that atypical of Saturday or in that particular building? How do you determine where security is posted, and is that under the purview of Brown Police?
That is, and that is typical for that academic space.
That there would not be a security personnel?
Correct.
Hey, Brian, there you go.
One for the Colonel, one for the Police. As far as the investigation goes, any updates on a possible motive here? And for the mayor, while I have you, we're getting towards Christmas time. Obviously, this suspect can get lots of different places, not just on campus there. What is your message to people coming into this area, seeing family who are concerned that this guy is still out?
Yes, so the motive is unknown at this time.
We're, what are we, a week away from Christmas now? This only emphasizes the question that I think everyone's been asking, which is, are we safe in Providence right now? Which honestly is the hardest question that I keep getting asked. And whether it's the holidays or not, but with the holidays, we expect even more people to want to come home and celebrate with family and share the traditions that, you know, seared in all of our brains of holidays with our parents and loved ones. We can't lock down the city indefinitely. We can't. And I know this city. I know they're tough. I know that they are resilient. I know that they have faced scary times before. And so we are doing everything possible to provide extra law enforcement, extra visibility, things to reassure confidence at a scary time. And it is a scary time here in the city. That's true at Christmas time. That was true when this started on Sunday morning, the first morning after. And so we are doing everything possible, but obviously families are going to have a conversation about what's right and what's best. But they should know that their city government is doing everything they know how. And thanks to the help of our friends, the governor and the Rhode Island State Police, our neighboring communities here in Rhode Island. For those of you who aren't from Rhode Island, this is a tight-knit place. And we have police officers from every corner of Rhode Island helping out in Providence right now. And so we are doing everything we can to reassure folks, to provide comfort, particularly as we expect will be even busier a week from now. And that is the best honest answer that I can give to that very difficult question. Please.
This question is for the Colonel. I know you've been interviewing survivors, specifically survivors that were in that classroom where the shooting took place. Have any of those survivors described the person of interest as the shooter, and or have they given a physical description of the shooter that is similar to the person of interest that we've been shown?
That's correct. Yes, they have. Yes, they have.
They have.
Yes.
Can you tell us how many actionable tips you've received at this point?
Happy to see Steve Clampkin.
Thanks very much, Mayor. And a two-part question, both for Colonel Perez and Mr. Doxel, FBI. As you've expanded the area that you've appealed to people who may have cameras within about an 80-block area, is it fair to say that the calls of people with cameras have tailed off, that you've gotten about all you can get?
No, we're still getting info. We're still getting calls, and we're doing a lot of knocking on doors, and it's been extremely helpful. So no, we're not done. We're going to continue to expand, and we get calls, and sometimes just knocking on doors alone is providing us that evidence.
And notwithstanding the fact the FBI issues a bulletin to all of its field offices and so forth, is it fair to say that until and unless you get a picture of this guy stepping into a car, you're not going to...
All right, we need to pause it there. Don't go anywhere. They're continuing to try to make the city feel secure that they are doing everything they can. They'd already talked about increased police presence to make the residents there feels safe.
Yeah, you can feel that they are trying to do what they can to get people moving about the city, not feeling like they have to be behind closed doors and, not impacting the economy in any way if everybody's not even going to some of these shops around the university.
You're right, absolutely. All these things to be considered. I'll tell you what, they're all on top of this in terms of having these press conferences to share what they can. They need the public's help. So what we'll do is take a break. When we come back, we're going to get you the rest of the news conference. Stay here with us on Court TV Live.
Welcome back. Let's get you back inside of that room where we are hearing a press conference in Providence, Ohio. This is, of course, in light of the shooting that happened on Saturday at Brown University. A manhunt still going on right now.
That's right. Providence, Rhode Island is where they are bringing all the information to us that they can. They don't know who it is. They are asking for the public's help. A person of interest identified in a video yesterday. Now they've released a picture of a second person who they say is someone who was in close proximity to the person of interest. Let's go back in.
Square one. You don't really have a sense of who he is, where he's going, and how he's getting there.
I would say, as it relates to the FBI, as well as our partners here, any information that comes in, that has not tailed off at all. And I would say one thing that remains constant is we will always need the public's assistance in anything that we do. No matter what you guys may see on TV, we will always need the public's assistance. I say as it relates to that, any tip that comes in, the information that we get, we're able to aggregate that and push out, not only to make links with other FBI field offices, so in the way in which we can follow that lead all the way to ground. And so the information that is coming in, we are pushing that out throughout our field offices, throughout our partnerships into that community, and then we get it back as well. That's helping us to cross off leads in which are not valid and then to push on leads that are valid as well.
But without that, I don't know if it's a video or something that shows him stepping into a car and you get a plate or something along those lines, makes your job that much more difficult.
Yes, and I think we mentioned this job is painstakingly difficult, but we've signed up to do it. As the AG mentioned, we have not lost any vigor or investigative rigor as we've gone forth into this. I will say that evidence that you're talking about sounds more like a smoking gun. Oftentimes, within my experience in the FBI, and I'm sure our partners as well, we get seeds. We only get seeds. And then through that hard work, as the Colonel mentioned, we end up building that story. We put that puzzle together. That's what we do. That's what we signed up for, and we're committed to that, to this community, to help do that.
In the back there. Yeah.
Thank you. Colonel.
Yes.
I want to follow up on one of my colleagues over there. You mentioned old school police work, and my colleague mentioned crossing people off the list, like basically making sure it's not that person, it's not that person. In homicide investigations, isn't it usually someone close to the victim? And if so, and the person also seemed to have no ground somewhat, have you knocked off every single person from ground? When I say knock off, meaning they didn't do it, from staff to students?
Yes, of course. Investigations, and I don't think that in every homicide, everyone that commits the homicide is close to that person. That's not something that happens. But we have obviously eliminated those strong leads that come up as strong leads. As a tip comes up, we label it as a high priority, medium priority, low priority. And yes, once we vet it through and make sure that we cover everything and we prove that that person has nothing to do with it, absolutely, we clear it out.
Yeah, and if I can I just want to jump in here to clarify that. So clearly, one of the investigators do clearly, and is that when you have a victim, you build back all of the relationships. You do that in any case. And so you build a profile of your victims so you know who may have threatened them, what they may have said that might have caused somebody to react a certain way. So yeah, that work is ongoing in conjunction with all the other work we're doing. But from where I sit today, there's been no development of any evidence that suggests that that's what drove this shooter. That could change, but there's nothing that we have recovered or analyzed to date that suggests that it was specific person motivated. Again, could change, but we're 5 days out. That work is being done, and there is nothing that suggests that at this time.
Last question.
This is for law enforcement and potentially Brown, but 5 days have passed. How is it possible that we still don't have a clear idea of who was in the classroom during the shooting?
5 days have passed. It could be 6 days. We were hoping that only 1 day passed. Unfortunately, investigations, as this nature of investigation, as intensive as it is going to take time. And it's going to take a lot of time to be able to interview, seize evidence, examine it, to come up with the right person. But as the general stated, a person is going to get caught. We're going to do our job, and we're not going to stop until we do. And so we're going to continue. It could be later, it could be tomorrow, but we're not stopping until we find them.
But surely there's a log or something of people entering that classroom in particular now.
No, I'd be happy to speak to that. So at this time of year, we have final exams taking place. We also have study sessions taking place. That particular classroom, it was a study session. Had it been a final exam, we'd have a roster. We'd have handed it over. We know exactly who was in the room because everybody shows up for a final. But for a study session, it's elective.
We're finishing the answer. Ronaldo.
It's elective.
I have a question for you.
It's elective to turn out for a study session. So we don't know exactly what fraction of the overall roster turned out a voluntary review session.
So there's no physical log, just to clarify?
Law enforcement is working to reconstruct that, but there would not be a formal law.
The camera in that building, they Brown put up because the sanctuary city law that we have, you don't want to record illegal immigrants, and you don't want to provide the footage to the FBI or immigration authority. One camera in that building, it come out from your detectives, they are friends of mine, they're angry at this investigation that these people in Brown University put the camera up, they can identify that person. You imagine how the family want to go through? Tell the truth to the media here. Putting cameras off.
We heard from both the Brown Police Chief and the Provost at Brown, who have shared that they have been fully cooperative and been forthcoming with all data and evidence that they have. The City of Providence's experience is the same. Brown has been really cooperative and collaborative and fully sharing with us. We will be back here tomorrow. Once again, if you are not on the press list and you would like to be updated, please see Camille. Otherwise, we will see you all tomorrow. Thank you. Yes, at 4.
Joining us now to discuss criminal defense attorney Silva Megardichian. Silva, thank you for watching along with us. And there's a lot of heat in that room, that reporter asking the questions, whoever that individual was, seemingly just very passionate and upset. But then again, we have different people who are really political by nature, right? They're elected officials who are providing information, all talking about all the different aspects. Does that add confusion, or do you think that helps provide clarity that we are on this, we are working hard, we're telling you what we know?
First of all, Judge Ashley and Julia, thank you so much for having me. You know I love you both. Judge Ashley, look, I've always said transparency is the most important aspect to any investigation because transparency equates trust of the public. The more you hide, the more you don't disclose, that is when there is trouble. And I think in this case, the investigators, they were incredibly honest. Look, we know days have gone by. We're trying really hard to solve this. We need the public's help. I think that's incredibly transparent to say, look, we don't have all the information. We need more. You know, as opposed to, you know, what LAPD did right after the Nick Reiner investigation. You know, they were unable to disclose the names of, you know, the 78-year-old and the 68-year-old, even though it was released that Rob Reiner and his wife were tragically killed. In LA, it made us doubt the information that was coming out from the LAPD and distrust. I think it's absolutely imperative that when the community is scared, they don't know when this person can strike again. They don't know how many people he is targeting, whether it is random or targeted. The only way that you can instill confidence in your police force is to be transparent of the strength of your investigation, but also the weakness of your investigation. So I think they're handling it as well as they could under the fear-mongering, not fear-mongering, because that's inappropriate. They are legitimately fearful, but I think there's just so many voices, and they have to keep it controlled and honest.
Yeah, honesty really being demanded there
Yes.
in that room. And I think they have to do this because the more that they do these press conferences, the more this is covered by national media, it's keeping those images in the public eye. And right now they just need that person who is in proximity to their person of interest to come forward and say, yes, I'm the person. What do you need to know? Silva, stand by. We have to get to our break. When we come back, though, we're going to take you out to California for the latest in the Reiner family homicide. Keep it locked here on Court TV Live.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Judge Ashley Wilcott along with Julia Janae. And we together want to pivot with you to go to California for our other big story, the Reiner family homicides.
Yeah, the suspect in this one, 32-year-old Nick Reiner. He was in court today for an arraignment along with his defense team led by recognizable to us attorney Alan Jackson. And Reiner is charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder in the deaths of his parents. This is famed actor and director Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle.
Their bodies were found inside their Brentwood home last Sunday. People magazine is reporting that the medical examiner said they died of multiple sharp force injuries.
And Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas has been following the story and joins us live from Los Angeles with more. Cody, what can you tell us?
Well, good afternoon, Ashley and Julia. Nick Reiner was in court today, but the big news is that he waived his right to a speedy arraignment. Now, as Julia, you just said, he was joined by none other than Alan Jackson, his defense attorney. Alan Jackson was also there with Elizabeth Little, so a similar defense structure to what we saw in the Karen Reed trial. Now, Alan Jackson is the one who asked the judge for a continuance of this arraignment to January 7th of next year. He took a little moment to speak with media following today's proceedings. Take a listen to this statement.
I just have a couple of quick words. First of all, and most importantly, this is a devastating tragedy that has befallen the Reiner family. We all recognize that. Our hearts go out to the entire Reiner family. There are very, very complex and serious issues that are associated with this case. These need to be thoroughly, but very carefully dealt with and examined and looked at and analyzed. We ask that during this process you allow the system to move forward in the way that it was designed to move forward. Not with a rush to judgment, not with jumping to conclusions, but with restraint and with dignity and with the respect that this system and this process deserves and that the family deserves. So with that, we are set for January 7th for an arraignment. That's the next court date. And that's all I have to say at this point. There may be more at some other point, but today we're going to rest on where we stand procedurally, which is this was the continuance of an arraignment. Nothing happened today substantively. We'll be back for an arraignment in the same department on the 7th of January. We'll see you then.
Now, Nick Reiner is now charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder in the stabbing deaths of his father, Rob Reiner, and his mother, Michelle. District Attorney Nathan Hochman says these charges rise to the special circumstances due to the multiple murders involved here. Now, we also know Nick Reiner has been vocal in the past about his struggles with addiction and homelessness during his early teen years, even going on to co-write a movie with his father called Being Charlie. That was loosely based on his early struggles. Take a listen to this.
It really clicked for me because we didn't bond a lot as a kid. Like, he really liked baseball, I like basketball, and he could watch that with my brother, but baseball. But I just, when I saw him do that, and it was something that I'm interested in, I was like, wow, like, he really knows a lot, and like, it made me feel closer to him.
Now, Ashley and Julia, of course, we've heard speculation about this Christmas party last Saturday, the night before the alleged stabbings at Conan O'Brien's house in Los Angeles, where evidently Nick got into a big, loud argument with his father, Rob. There are still a lot of questions that are still left unanswered here, but of course we know he'll be back in court on January 7th for that arraignment.
Thank you so much, Cody Thomas, for that report. We also want to bring you a programming note. The Reiner Family Murders, a Court TV special, airs Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Court TV lead anchor Vinnie Politan takes us inside the investigation as field reporter Cody Thomas joins live from the scene of the crime in Los Angeles.
We do want to bring in our guest who is standing by watching all of this. Criminal defense attorney Silva Megardician is with us. Silva, a lot that we are learning. The medical examiner's office now saying the bodies are ready for release, so they have finished their initial autopsy, it seems, determining this was a homicide and that the cause of death was multiple sharp force injuries to each of those victims. What is your thought on that?
You know, Julia, it's interesting because I was at the courthouse yesterday. I'm actually in that court building almost weekly. And it made sense to me that Alan Jackson put the case over to January 7th and put the arraignment over. The first thought in my mind was, imagine whatever the circumstances were allegedly in this case, if it is the son and there's mental health as well as drug addiction issues, depending on how his state is, he is likely either not sober or not competent yet to really help his attorney or to talk about the incident. The other interesting thing about that courtroom at an arraignment, when it's such a major case, which I've had a lot of major cases in that courtroom, a lot of times the district attorney's office, they're not unable to give the full discovery, which means the full investigation, the full arrest report. As we know, the coroner's report just came out. So all of that still needs to be given to the defense attorney. And so that's another reason why Alan Jackson would put over the arraignment to get all the information. This case is going to hinge on so many variables. And we heard hints of it through Alan Jackson and even the family statement when they're asking for privacy and compassion and understanding. And Alan Jackson saying there are so many issues here. Look, Alan Jackson is an amazing attorney, and what he did in Karen Reed's case was attack the evidence. In this particular matter, Julia, it's really going to come down to extensive competency issues, extensive mental health, and extensive as to this man was 15 when addiction was started, allegedly. Was there organic mental illness? Was he self-medicating? Did he become so addicted that his mental health became completely drained? All of this is going to be investigated by the defense attorneys through a myriad of experts. This is going to be a long road, and it is going to take a lot of understanding, compassion, investigation. And the DA's office, well, it's special circumstance. It's likely going to be life without the possibility of parole that they're seeking. I don't think it will be a death penalty case, but I do think that they are going to pursue hard life without the possibility of parole.
And it's also going to be interesting to see how they bring in the forensic evidence. What will that show us? Were there defensive wounds? Were there not? Was it self-defense? We just don't know any of that yet. It's premature. We, of course, will continue to follow this story. Silva, stand by if you would, please. We need to take another break. Up next, we're going to head to Ohio for testimony in the drowned wife murder trial of Paul Hicks. You don't want to miss it. Stay here with us on your front row seat to justice.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, a Hollywood icon and his wife stabbed to death and their own son charged with their murders. Our teams are live with the latest in the murders of Rob and Michelle Reiner.
Closing Arguments tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
I'm going to ask you a lot of personal questions.
From the crime scene to the courtroom, this is Victim to Verdict.
Everyone has this heightened sense of anticipation.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. We are shifting gears now, taking you to Ohio for this trial that we've been following all week, the drowned wife murder trial. And the man on trial is Paul Hicks.
He is charged with 3 counts of murder and 1 count of kidnapping in the death of his estranged wife, Regina Hicks. Today, a key witness in the case, Stephen Gates, testified, but we could not record his testimony per the judge's order. He opted out, but he is the one who came forward with information, Julia, about the case that actually led led to the arrest of Hicks.
He is a huge witness. He is the reason that we did not see charges back in 24 years ago, and now him coming forward has changed everything. So since we couldn't record it, we have paraphrased some of his testimony on direct examination. Again, this is Stephen Gates talking about the fatal moment. Let's put some up on your screen. He said, when under direct, I remember looking in the car and I saw the victim, Regina Hicks, crumpled up in the passenger side floor. The defendant was outside of the passenger door, and he said, meaning Paul Hicks, dude, and then there's an expletive deleted there, she's dead.
And then he testified, all I remember seeing is taillights up in the air, taillights from Regina's car. He was muddy, she was all muddy also. I was kind of in shock. Paul, who is the defendant, came out of the pond wet and got into the car with me. Paul made a phone call and left her a voicemail. He told me, you're involved. After that, the prosecutor asks, what was your response? The witness says, in hindsight, I was just a dumb kid. I didn't know what I was doing. I just remember the threats over the years to me and my family and my cattle.
And a note, Gates has been granted full immunity in exchange for his truthful testimony in court. So right now we want to catch you up on more of the testimony that did come out that we were able to record. A retired investigator with the Ohio State Highway Patrol is here under cross.
So that would be what's out.
Mr. Wells, Penny, what's unmarked as Defendant's Exhibit F, okay?
Okay.
You familiar with Focus Forensics out of Chicago?
I am not familiar with Focus Forensics. I am familiar with Bosch.
Okay. All right, so Mr. Caceres asked some questions about this. I want to zero in. When we talk about the black box, that's the computer now in most of our vehicles. As you testified to on direct, measures speed, right? Measures acceleration.
Are you asking me, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It can. It depends on the make, the model, the manufacturer, and all of that. So each one is different. So I can't say specifically as a generality that they do everything.
And when we look at on the second column on the left, you agree with me what I handed you is simply a list of make and models of automobiles.
Yes.
Right. And although we say generically black box event data recorders, I think you referred to them as EDRs when you testified?
Yes.
Okay. And they use those language CDR, crash data retrieval. You agree with me, we're talking about the same thing, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, as you said, the Chevy Camaro, that technology wasn't available until 1996, right?
That is correct, sir.
Okay. So, as a result of that, it was critical to try to learn as much as you can about the physics and the speed and the force of the 1994 Camaro and what happened on October 18th, 2001, or didn't happen on October 18th, 2001.
Is that a question, sir?
It is.
Can you repeat it, please?
Yes. Because we don't have a CDR, an EDR, a black box on that particular car. It's imperative to learn as much as we can about the speed of that car.
Okay, yes, sir.
Okay. The weight of that car.
Okay, yes.
Okay. Acceleration of that car in second gear.
Yes, sir.
Taking into account potentially weight and who the driver may have been?
Yes, sir.
Who a passenger may have been?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And although you have done several reconstructions in your career involving automobiles, there was no reconstruction done in this case.
Is that a statement or a question, sir?
You would agree with me there was no reconstruction done in this case?
Not from my, well, that's not exactly true, sir.
You talk about a reconstruction, right? Mm-hmm. You're trying to analyze exactly the path of what happened to that particular car in regards to that, whatever that accident or end result of that car ended up, correct?
Yes, sir.
Good. That's a big part in the state.
All right, Silva Megerdician is still with us, criminal defense attorney. Happy to have you out there in California. Let's, instead of talking about this investigator, I do want to get your reaction to Stephen Gates on the stand. I mean, that's the big moment of today. These jurors have got to still be thinking about what he said, because that's really all investigators had that changed in 24 years. What do you make of what he said on the stand and his decision to opt out of being on camera or being recorded?
You know, Julia, it's huge, right? Because here's the issue that is so imperative in juries' minds, right? In jurors' minds. They have to weigh the fact that he has complete immunity. He has nothing to lose by saying whatever he wants to say, whether it's an exaggeration or a lie or a truth, it's all equal because he has complete immunity. So again, the jury's going to think, well, what's the incentive here? Does he want to do the right thing? But why didn't he do the right thing for the past 2 decades? You know, he says that his family was under threat, but what about the greater good of solving this crime and allowing her family to have some closure? And also, the fact of the matter is, we know that memories wane in time. How do we know that he remembers this truly, or are these exaggerated memories where he could have convinced himself? All of this is incredibly imperative that a jury is going to think. In these kinds of cases, Julia, where there's so much time that has elapsed, really jurors have a really difficult job because it has to come down to more than just memories, right? Because memories can be affected by external forces. We all know that, between memory loss or stress or anxiety or thinking something happened, and sometimes we make these memories up. All of that becomes absolutely crucial. And really, because the testimony, we couldn't see it, the jurors have to judge their credibility from what they saw, something that I wish the Court TV viewers and us could have seen, because this kind of testimony is usually the most incredible testimony, because it's up to the person who listens to decide the credibility of the witness. And I think the verdict is going to come down to the credibility of that witness for sure.
And that leads me to my thought question just quickly before the top of the hour. Silva, do you expect the defendant is going to testify? Because all they have is the word of that witness. Do you need to hear from the defendant to weigh the credibility and have a defendant try to convince you he didn't do it?
You know what, Judge Ashley, and you know this so well from all your experience, proper cross on a case like this is imperative, because you don't need the defendant to talk. Again, 2 decades has passed. The prosecution can attack his testimony so easily. If the defense attorney did his job properly, the holes that he was able to put on the credibility of that witness with the complete immunity, that's going to be as good as testimony.
Yeah, the complete immunity is huge. Silva Megerdician, we're out of time. Thank you so much for being on with us.
Yeah, ahead next hour, we are going to get you back inside of the courtroom for more of the testimony that's unfolding now in Ohio in the murder trial for Paul Hicks. And officials are releasing this new video of a second person that they want to talk to in connection with the mass shooting at Brown University last Saturday. We have crime and justice correspondent Matt Johnson on the ground joining us live with an update. Keep it here on your front row seat to justice.